Oh.
It turns out that the people who fired were Rasta and Blah, and it was just like, okay. So the two admins basically just fired it. One of the other admins, and whatever.
Do you guys know about this after action report in-house thing we have where you can?
I do, but I don't have it downloaded. I haven't looked at it yet.
I can give it a link.
It's a small program.
Yeah, it's a locally executable thing.
And it's also in English. That's good.
Yeah, where is it?
Oh, I'm giving the link
Someone's
now.
gonna set up a link.
Cool.
Yeah, someone will give you the link, and it's really easy. It's C++ coded, and it's fast.
I've
Does
used it
anyone
before.
know what was wrong with the first mission why it didn't work?
It's probably the DLC that crashed everything.
So
No,
the mines
there was an event trigger that was not supposed to be in the mission, which was the artillery thing that happened in the beginning of the mission, and it loaded for like 120 players, so it crashed the server, and it was a horrible mistake, and that shouldn't have happened.
It happens.
But yeah, you know, people just test these missions with we don't have like 120 players to test these missions, so it happens. But I guess we'll learn from this.
You really don't have to apologize about it. It happens. Trust me, I've hosted my fair share of events where, you know, the mission was tested and we made sure everything was right and all our ducks were in a row, and then it just fell flat on its face. So you know what? It was fine, right? And the mission that did work was a fucking blast. It was great.
It was
And
also
the
good that there was 2 missions, so we actually have the second mission to play. So it was only a single point of
it
failure.
was just a shame that the first mission didn't work. Usually,
Yeah.
Of course, everyone has high hopes for the international events, and when something goes wrong, it's just a shame. But you know, what
shit
we
happens.
do? Yeah, this is the game we chose to play, so.
Yeah, but
There's the link
I'm very
up.
salty about that we didn't have E-glass or anything else, anti-air missiles or something.
Yeah.
That would have been too good for us. I don't think there's any necessity for the entire for us.
Maybe
Way too good.
all of us would just charge the enemy.
The helicopter was not
normal.
that effective in the mission. It was just flying over us. It was scouting. It didn't do that much damage. I mean, it was there.
I mean, it was good that it was there. It was, at least for our group, I think that was the biggest thing that was really making the whole mission more alive, because we were just sitting in the middle of the forest doing nothing. At least there's a helicopter shooting at our friendlies somewhere and just flying over and all that stuff. So I think that was really good.
Busy.
Yeah, that's one thing
Yeah.
we have to evade continuously. I mean, that was pretty good. That was a good element to the mission, but by itself, it was not that effective. And if we had like anti-air missiles, that would have been just unfair for the UO side, basically.
Hold on, I'm
Wait,
watching this assault.
Uh-huh.
This is actually I've used this program before and it's great, but watching it now, this is really interesting. I thought we took way more casualties than we did in this initial attack.
Yeah, I think your cohesion overall was not that great, I guess, because the attack was kind of slow, wasn't it? Right? We didn't even know that you were there until the end of the game, basically, on our side.
Well, actually, Bravo platoon basically knew what you were attacking. Basically, you attacked Charlie platoon at first, and Bravo platoon knew every step you took, kinda like where you were in a general fashion, but we were not allowed to move from our positions due to mission, of course. And
Yeah, I would have liked more aggressive or bold moves.
basically we would have flanked you on the left pretty hard, but I don't know if that would have been right.
Yeah, halfway through the mission, our squad realized that you guys were coming from the northwest side, and the fight was gonna happen on the northwest. and we were thinking, we should probably go there, and that's where everything is gonna go down, because you're gonna lose your troops, you're gonna lose your fighting power, so you can't really spread around. You have to stay in one place, basically, have a effective force. And we were slow to react to that, and that's on our part. But you got squished, but it's because of the mission.
Hold on, I'm trying to find the spot where the guy snuck up on us.
It was the Rust.
Was it Fire X? Because that's about the position he was in.
It's likely Firex, because basically what happened there is Charlie, I think it was Charlie 3 that we'd taken up positions in the woodline, and we had our cord set up facing southwest. When you guys came up and took contact, we fired a couple of shots. We pulled up your, or rather we waited until your Bradley was close enough, then fired off our RPG at it, but to no effect. Our squad leader was killed, and on the squad radio I ordered everybody who was surviving to disengage and fall back to the east. But Firex looks back and just sees this open field. He knows if he's going to cross it, he's going to die, which is exactly what happens to me. I start crossing and I get shot. So he sees me go down, and his response is to just lay down. He doesn't want to move. So when you guys walked up on him, he engaged you.
Yeah, Fearex, he was... I just see a machine gunner crawling through some bushes, and he's like killed... He'd been shooting at people. Like, I'm watching in the AR, it's about an hour and like 1 minute in.
Yeah, he was in the positions that Charlie 3 was in previously. He stayed where he was because he felt that it was his best option for survival.
So it happened just like that. We were trying to actually take off from there, and we actually threw the smokes in, as you may have seen.
Yeah, no.
But the guy just said that, no, we can't take off. I must stay here and scout out, so... And actually it worked.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Until my
He saw
gunner
your
saw
every
him.
move, he knew
Well,
exactly what you were doing, so...
Yeah, I was the one who spotted him and then had my gunner just light up the area.
Yep.
We were very disappointed to see that they, like a couple of minutes before, your Bradley pulled up and we hit it with an RPG in the side, and it did literally nothing. It just kind of shrugged it off.
No effect.
Took off.
Yeah, we
just cleaning the surface,
Well, we got hit by one RPG. I don't know where the other.
That
one
was from
got hit.
Epe, the guy who was just talking.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the initial RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
You guys just drove up, and I was literally looking at you through your gun barrel's gun sight. I was right in front of your gun when you drove up in the cord, and I was just talking to Epe, and he was like right next to me. I'm like, Epe, get the fucking law.
I mean, I'm sure you saw me like turned out, right?
Yeah, I saw you turned out. Then you popped in, and that's when Epe was in your side, and he shot you in the flank.
Yeah, I got hit I got hit when I turned in. Like someone had shot me.
That's the penetrator from the law.
Well, no, not my vehicle got hit. I got hit. Like me as the commander of the vehicle got shot, and I think it hit my flak vest because I didn't die or anything. Or like I wasn't even bleeding. I was just like, okay, I got hit. And then we get hit with an RPG, and my gunner's like, we got hit with an RPG, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because it was like...
By the way, what was your ammunition situation when you went on the road attacking east?
We were fine. My gunner had been pretty... Like, he hadn't been shooting as much as everyone else.
Because, I mean, after looking at the situation, it felt like you were running out of ammunition because you shot the whole area down.
Maybe.
At least there was nowhere to hide anymore after you were in the pink mist FOB.
Yeah. I need to talk to Larby after this, though. I gotta talk to my gunner. Because I want to tell him who shot us, because it was basically like all the server admins. Which I think is funny, I don't know.
It was pretty spooky, like sitting in a court watching all these Bradleys drive up, and I'm just kind of like, well, as long as I don't move, they don't see me. It's like that fucking Jurassic Park T-Rex shit, vision based on movement.
Well, basically every time I spotted an enemy, that's exactly what happened.
When you guys got on the road from the north, why didn't you move down, or rather start moving when the first vehicle had taken contact from that squad? Did you guys just not think that, or rather think that you had time to organize yourselves, or what happened? Like, what was the command decision at that point in time?
Well, my vehicle kind of punched up really far just on its own volition. I thought we were a little more clear than we were. I honestly thought there were fewer enemies than there were. Like, Jesus, it didn't occur to me how many people there were left when that RPG hit us.
Because from the AAR, what it looks like is you guys parked up on the road, and you started organizing yourself for the attack down the road there that you were going to steamroll through. And during that time, the OP4 company command had time to organize a response to your presence on the road, which is what eventually destroyed you on it. Like, were you like the platoon lead for Blue 4?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Basically, we just had to gather up. We couldn't just do it and go. Is what happened.
Sometimes that's just the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Pedal to the metal and hope for the best. You might lose a couple of Bradleys, but in that point in time, obviously you didn't know it, but ramping through that shit Twisted Metal style probably would have been the better option.
Yeah, if you had just charged us, I mean the Bravo 2, it would have just overrun us before we could have reacted to your presence there.
Obviously, the natural proclivity of a person when he sees a burning friendly tank is to stop, for obvious reasons, because it signifies danger. But in that moment in time, to be an armchair general now, because hindsight is 2020, if Blue 4 had gone through that, then that would have been a win for them either way, even without, let's hypothetically say, if the reconnaissance team was shot somehow. Either way, it's still a really impressive and fun game. It's just interesting to look at it from the AAR perspective and see how the two sides reacted to each other's presence.
Yeah, we're hit by the time limit, basically. That was why everything got kind of squished up in the end. And if you had more time, then maybe you would have proceeded to the next objective pretty well. But you went across the road with the Bradleys and you got trapped. But if you had spread to the sides of the road, to the north and south, after an hour and 20 minutes basically, you would have a good front, but you got stuck. And that's how you get killed. But yeah, it's the time limit. I mean, we're not gonna play for 4 hours, and the one thing you should have more maybe as a comment from my end. I mean, I wasn't on your side, so I don't know how things went, but you should have more cohesion maybe and more speed to your attack, because we were slow to respond. If you look at the AR, we are way spread out. You would have been fine with more speed with your attack, but you may have necessarily not known that in your attack. But with the resistance that you had when you were attacking the FOB, maybe you could have deduced that, or maybe have scouts move to the east in the northwest corner that when you attacked. But that's just my opinion. It was definitely a good attack in terms of going for the FOB. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't fire a shot for over an hour, and I was in position on the southeast side. It was great fun still, because we didn't know where you were at all. And we were approaching, moving to the west, northwest, and the chopper was flying over us, and we're trying to evade being seen by the chopper. We didn't know if he had flare or not, and it was fun. It's great.
Charlie platoon had, should I put it this way, intimate knowledge about the enemy company's presence, primarily because all their Bradleys were shooting at us. But I'm not sure if that was something that was translated over onto the command net, because at the time when we started withdrawing or attempting to withdraw under fire, we had basically just 4 or 5 men still left in the FOB area.
There was no communication that the enemy platoons were moving towards the FOB, at least to the Alpha Company.
Kilo was already, they knew about the presence of the enemy, but they decided not to attack their flanks. It was mainly for immersive reasons, because we could have flanked the Blue 4 in the early phases, but I don't think it would have been very fun for anyone.
Yeah, wasn't there a rule?
As the company commander, I have to intercept and say that it wasn't just for immersion reasons. Had we sent Alpha to flank the enemy from the south, we could have risked killing the whole Alpha company. I mean, the Alpha platoon off. Had the Bradleys just stayed on the forest line, like those 200 meters of open ground between the FOB and where the Bradleys were, so we could have just lost the whole platoon there. So instead, I decided that we would be better off just sort of giving off the FOB and start organizing the defense on the fire position 2. So that was my decision at that point.
A question to actually the Kilo for what was the decision, like as I understand it, at some point previously to the guns in gun position 2 being destroyed, you had already received contact of some sort from enemy reconnaissance elements, but yet the platoon that was tasked with defending gun position 2 did not have significant defenses in place at number 2 at the time when enemy reconnaissance troops entered and destroyed the guns. What was the process of decisions for that?
Actually, as the company commander, I did not receive any information about fire position 2 being overrun by the reconnaissance force, so that's on Bravo platoon.
Is Bravo platoon's leader here?
I don't think so. Was that Castor?
I think it was Castor. I think
it was Castor.
I think so too.
I think Castor was having a party when he was talking, so I think there's other stuff he.
Oh yeah,
doing right
yeah.
now.
He's probably like knee deep in pussy right now. But anyway, so basically, from what it looks like from the AAR, this is me assuming. If somebody in the Bravo 10 element wants to tell me otherwise, now would be the time. But what it looks like is that Bravo, for some reason, did not understand the presence of enemy reconnaissance troops, or had not been informed of the presence of them, and simply detached all of their defenses to move them to the west to receive the enemy company that was advancing down the ASR. And
I'm pretty sure they knew about the reconnaissance element, because previously they destroyed a reconnaissance element on Echo 3. and then before
Yeah,
that to kill
it
them.
just
So.
happened so that the said recon element, we just saw them because they were actually, very close to us. We had no idea from where they came. We just saw that, hey, these guys ain't ours, and we had to shoot them. And that's all of it. And yeah, we were just told to go west and take you on out there.
Yeah, well, fog of war, and war is hell, so... But that's why Arma is so fun, because you have this situation. You have, you don't have a perfect, picture of the battlefield, and that's what I enjoy, and that's also why it's really fun to play against UO and other, communities, because they have a different play style, so you can't, predict too much what they're gonna do, because we play so much together internally in AFI that we can almost, even if you know who's the commander on the other side, you can start predicting what he's gonna do. So
yeah,
I really enjoy these events, and it's really great that we got a good second mission today.
The thing that stands out the most about the playstyles is that I'm looking at the AAR, and you guys use the map like it's a Blue Force tracker instead of like a paper map, right?
Blue Force Tracker, BFT.
Basically, as I look at it, as I look at the map, I can see blue for marking positions live.
Oh yeah.
So instead of it being like AFI style, which is we just don't mark anything on the map, UO actively marks positions, and that helps the information flow from command elements to the actual people on the ground, because it's treated like a computer interface instead of just like a map.
Yeah, we
Do
do more
during
of
the
a
mission?
Blue Force Tracker, yeah.
Yeah, during the mission.
Blue Force Tracker is what he was saying, yeah. We were
Basically,
doing that.
you use it like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I only noticed Alpha 3 doing that, and I don't even know whether that was consistent with the rules or not. Can you clear me up on that?
It was okay for us that you use it.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do it, but
Yeah,
I guess
we
it's
don't
okay.
do it, but we don't
Yeah.
mind if other guys do it.
During our weekend games, we don't allow that, but during matches with others, we have that with Tushino before, another Russian community. It's fine. I mean, it's up to how you play the game.
Yeah, it's not something that we dislike. It's just when it comes down to the nitty gritty of it, it's a difference in communication. It can make you reliant on stuff that you see in the map as visual aids, and that can lead to other sorts of interesting interactions, to say the least. But at the same time, we just don't use it because, well,
not realistic.
Yeah, we like to keep the fog of war as it should be, basically.
Well, depends on your equipment also, of course, and what you simulate. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how you would
Yeah,
generally use it.
we assume that we don't have ultra modern map systems that update,
But then again, we could also perhaps even enjoy a few games here and there more by having some kind of Blue Force tracker on, because we had it at some point, but then we moved away from it. So I'm not saying that every mission should be, but what I'm saying is that you can actually enjoy a game also more by having map markers available, because then you can coordinate your troops more efficiently, and then you don't have less let's say clusterfucks that we are pretty famous ones here in Alfie that we go back to occasionally and remember with.
Yeah, we definitely
talking
have
about
more
that Bravo
fuck-ups.
Alpha confrontation sometimes.
And
Alpha shooting Bravo.
The Blue Force tracker system is realistic. I mean, the US, you have a system like that, so that's fine. It's realistic in a way, but we don't demand complete realism anyway. But it depends on your playstyle for the most part.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on your level of training. The situation with United Operations is that there are many civilians who have never received professional military training, and I'm a little bit jealous, actually, of Arma Finland, where they have conscription. And so, I was kind of weighing that in my decision about whether to use those markers. And I agree, it's actually not realistic. It's maybe half realistic. It would be realistic for leaders to be able to see those markers, but not for everyone to see them. and so it was a little bit of a stretch. However, I recognize that there are many people that are really not capable of land navigation, number one, and are going to have so many other things that they need to worry about, let alone their own position. And knowing your position is actually a prerequisite for any of the maneuvers that we might try to use, and trying to avoid friendly fire and trying to coordinate forces, and knowing whether people are in the right position before proceeding with some type of attack. And I think that's actually one of the weaknesses of United Operations. Too often it seems like there's not a confirmation or a period of waiting for forces to be in the correct position before they launch an attack. Instead, it often feels like it's just a race, and the way that they know where other forces are is just by proximity. And then that forces people to be very bunched up, and doesn't leave room for error. If there's an element that got left behind for whatever reason, maybe somebody lost track of where their element was, maybe they lost track of where their section was, then it could completely disrupt an assault. And United Operations hasn't really practiced dealing with that problem. Number one, preventing it, and number two, reacting to it.
I think we saw that today in the AR at 120 when you guys were grouping up on that road in an effort to drive down towards the next gun position. You were all, spending a lot of time organizing yourselves, mounting all of your troops, and during that time, up for elements that were around your position enveloped you and then began destroying you simultaneously. I think that's probably an example of that type of behavior, because you guys spent a lot of time just sitting on the road after that first contact with that that Bradley exploded.
I'm gonna head out, guys. So
have fun.
It was really nice. It's always great to play with you guys. I love AFI. All right, I'm not just kissing your ass. I really do love playing with you guys.
Just
okay.
Come
you haven't been
just
in
come
our
again. Just come again.
We will do this again.
I love you, Aswar.
I want to play that first mission. I spent like a month coming up with all sorts of fun ways to kill you, and then it didn't work.
Don't worry. We'll get there eventually.
I have things to say to Harold. You're worried about the.
Yeah, good luck.
Someone could keep track on the ground and the map simultaneously. It's easy to move your finger around the map, but not as easy to follow it. Not as easy to follow it. Sorry, my English again. But it's a lot harder in video games because you have to press buttons, but you could just press one button instead and go forward.
Yeah, but most people here don't have like real life experience about warfare. I mean, obviously nobody here has like real life experience about warfare unless they're peacekeepers or something. But what this whole thing bogs down into is that UO doesn't have as much PvP experience as Finland. That's what it all bogs down to, because we in Finland we play player versus player all the time. We play like Wednesdays and Saturdays, twice a week, player versus player, 2 missions. So there's 4 missions every week. We play player versus player, and UO. You guys don't have the player amounts that do PvP like that. So I'm guessing you guys do more co-op, and that's obviously a lot different from what we do. Excuse me. Is that correct, Harold?
Actually, United Operations tries to do team versus team. I think that's what you mean when you say player versus player.
Yeah, A-firm.
There's actually an important distinction. Player versus player is, at least in America and Europe, I think, it tends to mean that it's a more casual gameplay, like Wasteland or King of the Hill. So I'm careful to use team versus team.
I meant team versus team, obviously.
Yeah, okay. Which is organized, formal leadership structure, usually no respawn, first person only, and so forth, which is actually quite rare. But United Operations does try to do that pretty much every weekend, and it has a lot to do with the number of people present. They don't always get enough people for the team versus team missions, and then they end up playing co-op missions.
I mean,
I don't think it's so much about practice. I think it's more about military training, especially about terrain association. Very few people have gone through that form of training in United Operations, and I wish that there were some type of ongoing training program. Maybe Arma Finland could run something like that, teaching people how to recognize different terrain features in first-person mode compared to on the map.
Yes, sure. That's a possibility, but could you give a number or percentage of how many of your players, Harold, are sort of new into the Arma military simulation sort of playing? Are many of you guys new to this kind of gameplay?
Supposedly, United Operations is doing military simulation every week. And there are many people who have been participating for years. However, it seems like over 90% are civilians, and they're not really paying attention to training. Looking at statistics, looking at, if you go to the United Operations TeamSpeak server, then every player has tags that indicate the training courses that they have completed. And my estimate is that it's only about 10% of people that are attending these courses. And there could be people that have been participating for years, but they're simply not getting the training. And in my opinion, they're not really progressing. They're just kind of repeating the same behavior over and over. They're not really expanding their skills. They're not trying to strengthen their skills. They're not trying to deal with more challenging situations where they don't have the Blue Force tracking system. I think that the United Operations missions pretty much always have the Blue Force tracking systems. I'm not complaining, but I'm just kind of bringing this up as another issue in the after action review. And in my opinion, the solution is more training. But I would be amazed if that actually were successful, because there's so many people that don't seem to be willing to do it. There's this strange attitude where people think that they should be allowed to, participate in milsim without doing training, and I have a completely different attitude. I've been trying to do as much training as possible. I've been trying to train people in my squad, and it's just an ongoing thing. And we're reading field manuals, and we're trying to attend other people's training courses, and we're just trying to, come as close to professional military training as possible, while it's still being virtual and as civilians. And it's a long way off. I mean, there's so many topics that we need to cover, and but it's fun. And so to answer your question, it's probably about 10% of people.
Do you mean real life training or in-game training?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of number of people who are in the military in real life, that's even less. I would say that's about 5%. In terms of the number of people who have attended these trainings, that's about 10%.
But it could be really also boiling down to the basic training in the sense of childhood bringing up, since I remember in my elementary school times and middle school times, we would have, for example, navigation during our PE exercise classes. We would go to the forest and have navigation exercises where we would have different points in the forest where we had to navigate with the map and the compass and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, and also in cities they have this city sort of same thing, but in the city, I think that's a major difference.
Yeah, it's
I remember.
Education when you're brought up. I mean, what your basic life skills are in that sense. In here, we get a lot of basic training on a lot of many things that you might probably need in life.
As a representative of the AFI training team, I want one representative of the AFI training team. There's multiple of us here, but I want to bring up an important point about training because I feel like it has to do with this conversation. The thing to understand is like what Boomery said, is that you'll never get enough players in your trainings, but everyone likes to play the game. There's no real incentive for people to attend the trainings that we have in AFI. and some of our players have never gone through military training. I would wager that a majority of our players have been a conscript. They've been trained for different things in different roles, obviously, but all of them have the same basic skill set. But that doesn't mean that they're automatically better at playing the game than like the rest of the community that we have here. Really, most of the things that a player needs to be quote unquote good at Arma is two things: map awareness and spatial awareness. And those are two things that you can't really give in training. You can teach a person to shoot the weapons, you can teach a person about the equipment, but really it comes down to a question of experience in the gameplay itself, and I would call it book training. You can book train a person, but you can't teach them how to behave in an actual game scenario until they actually experience it.
Yes, and one of the most important things here is to understand the mentality between Finnish people and people from the US. We in Finland, we have conscription, yes, and military training and military lifestyle is basically ingrained into our society. So we have an understanding here that we need to be patient, we need to learn, we need to do this and that, and you know, it's a process for every man here. And in the US, it's a lot different. You have different goals in life. Here we have conscription for every male. Over 90% of the men go through military conscription service here. It's a difference of culture. So we understand that like every male here goes through the service. So it's like part of our lifestyle. So it's a huge difference.
Coming back to that, in training though, we can generally assume that when an individual shows up and attends one of our, let's say a new player trainings, that they understand how a map works, they understand how a compass works, they understand how, let's say, some sort of radios work, or what the concept of like a command structure is, specifically
exactly.
because those experiences in the military. But if they don't, and I've had these people too, some of them show up and they have no idea about anything. But they have gone through schools, they have gone through primary school, middle school, things like that, whatever, where they have had these land navigation classes that are compulsory. So they know still the most important thing about fighting in this type of virtual environment. They understand what the terrain looks like from the air, and then you know how to use a map. And they also know how to use a compass, and that's half the battle right there.
Yeah, and it's the mentality that we have a leadership structure. We have a sergeant who leads a squad. We have a lieutenant who leads a platoon, and so on. There's a command structure that you have to someone that you have to follow, someone's orders that you have to take in. It's not like you have player and a player, and one has just happened to be a higher rank because he is slotted in that slot. No, it's because we have a proper command structure in case of warfare. It's a matter of life and death. It's kind of, it's not that serious, but I mean, it's definitely ingrained into our culture. So it's definitely there.
The point
I
being
point out that one thing about you guys in training. You usually want to give new players a chance to learn in leading. Like for example, me, I'm new. I haven't yet been through the military conscription, but you gave me a chance. You said to me, just try it, just try to lead, and you will probably end up dead, but you tried, you gained experience, and next time you will do better. Actually, one time I did succeed, but I don't want to tell names, but one guy went DayZ style and killed one of my crews.
And on one thing I want to say about the difference between you and Arma Finland, I've been to the UO structure from the beginning of Arma 2, and during Arma 2 you had a lot of active people like Kraus and who's the leader of the UAF nowadays?
I thought it was Army guy.
Well, there's Army guy, yes, and there's Force Majeure, right? They formed like the structure for training JTAGs, for example. There's a video lecture series for the whole training session that you had during Arma 2, and there were multiple courses for training JTAGs. There were just amazing piece of material for training people, like in JTAG, helicopter flying, squad leading, platoon leading, company leading. You have amazing training material, like in UO. It's extremely in-depth material, and part of that is from real life experience, like from Force Majeure. From what I understand, he is in the Air Force and he knows about how the JTAG system works, and that material is just amazing, and we have referenced that as well, like in our training. We've looked at your training from the way back, how you guys did it during Arma 2, and implemented pieces of that to our training system that we're developing right now, and it's amazing. But the thing is, like you said, it's only 10% that you have trained, so it's a real problem because it's maybe too complicated for most of the people.
But as Pepika said earlier, I mean, sometimes the best way to learn is actually to let you try to do it. I mean, I came here also without military background and started to play. I didn't know anything. I just watched the basic and read the basics stuff, how to play the game and the mods. But I mean, just the ability that the people were encouraging me to try out, and when I tried to try out, they would take, for example, if I took the squad leader, they would take the lower one from the squad leader. I don't know what is in English, but somebody who
Second
was
in
knowledgeable,
command.
second in command, who was knowledgeable, who could then also help me during my commanding. So I would learn on the field. I would learn while doing it. So I would at the same time learn from my mistakes and learn from the people who have experience, or play under those people who have experience and are playing as leaders and playing as their assistant. So I mean, it is sometimes also that you need to have practical field experience to actually learn anything. I mean, it doesn't matter how much good text material you have. I mean, you can read, I mean, months upon months of different military tactics and theory, but I mean, when it comes down to actually practicing and putting it in the field use, it's totally different. I mean, it is not in that sense same way applicable, in my opinion.
To expand upon this though, before I go, we're not like super Delta Force warriors over here or anything. Like we've been fellating ourselves about our culture for the past 10 minutes straight. But let's be honest here. My first experience in this game today was that my own company elements member dropped a frag grenade at my feet. So we're not Green Berets here. We're just alcohol-infused angry Finnish men playing pretend soldier on the internet, and it works out.
Yeah, my
That's
first
correct.
time in command, I actually threw not one, but two frags under my own cars, with all the people loaded in.
Why?
It was a mistake. I had just moved from Arma 2 to Arma 3, so it was difficult to think about the G and I things.
Exactly.
So we're not professionals here in that sense.
I think no one would actually think we would be.
Yeah, and actually I've got to say as a new player that every single time we play and every single time you actually learn something, it doesn't feel compulsory. And every time you actually want to try something new, for example, you want to be a driver, you want to be a machine gunner or whatever, you get this, how do I say it?
Suomeksi voit sanoa?
Niin siis saatana, että ylipäätään ihmiset kannustaa.
Yeah, encouraging.
Yeah, people encourage you to try everything, anything, just anything, and it's just.
There's not
Even
this
though
mentality
you
that
are
if
the-
you don't have the training, you cannot do that. I mean,
Yeah.
here, I mean, I'm shit at AA. I mean, anti-air stuff, and I'm known for that. But I mean, I'm never banned from trying to get it. It's whoever gets
Yet.
it first and takes it.
Let me tell you guys the story real quick. So fucking Epe, no, it wasn't Epe, it was Elias, right?
Yeah.
It was Elias was fucking sitting there with a goddamn Igla, and there was a combat helicopter destroying his platoon. So Elias rushes into the field of battle with the launch tube on his shoulder, flips open the sights, brings up the target reticle, points it at the chopper, and he doesn't get tone. What does he say? I'm going to manual, and fires the thing off into the sky like a Chinese firecracker.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
It was good though. You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, and you never actually get like beat down from your mistakes. Actually, that's how I feel, but yeah.
Did somebody call for salt?
But I mean, Harold, what's your opinion? I mean, we have been now babbling for a while, but I mean, what do you think about this that we have tried to explain?
I think Ocelot made some really good points. United Operations was excellent back in the days of Arma 2. I really wish that we could get back to that point. I think it has to do with key people with a lot of experience that haven't been active recently, which we can't blame them. I mean, you can't expect a person to be active permanently. People have shifting priorities, and not everybody's going to keep playing a game here. Anyway, what we really need is fresh blood, essentially. We need new people to take over the reins on leadership trainings and try to restore the legacy of United Operations, in my opinion. Or maybe I just haven't met the right people yet. I mean, I haven't really talked to the leaders. I'm just kind of more of a participant. I've attended whatever training courses they have available recently that are relevant to infantry, but I haven't seen any of the leadership courses. I keep watching for it. I keep watching for at least fire team leader, if not squad leader or above, and there's nothing. It's like a total desert as far as leadership trainings. But many people have those leadership trainings and they're still participating, so I'm glad to see that. And I see good briefings every once in a while, proper military terminology, good tactics in use. And I think it's just about getting the right people all together and, pushing and then recruiting some good people that are highly motivated as well. And I think it can be done again. It's just going to take a while. I'm curious about Arma Finland events. Are there any events other than the very large team versus team missions that are conducted in English or that would be open to an English-only squad?
We have, I don't know if, obviously, we have some like non-PvP or TVT events that are specifically to do with roleplay. We have a roleplay event called Hardline, where we basically are assigned certain roles. Nobody knows what those roles are beforehand, up until the point that the organizer actually gives them their role card. And then we're put into an environment that's designed to be part of this scenario, this game, and then we go through it similarly to that. And I imagine that there would be an opportunity to play at one of those events simply because of the way they're designed. And at the same time, I think that if you suggested it to our organizers, like if you just went straight up to Blah and told him, hey, we want to play with you guys more frequently, then he'd be absolutely open to that.
But I mean, with TVT, I mean, it is possible. We have a lot of English-speaking players here who can communicate in English effectively during combat.
It's mandatory in primary school.
So you can actually join our weekly games, and if you just, for example, earlier come and inform that, hey, I would be interested in playing with you guys. It's possible to have a English-speaking squad and have a Finnish squad leader there, so we can communicate with the company level, but
or second in command.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or
So
just a radio operator even. Like we have had English speaking people in our games before. We've had individuals, we've had groups of people up to 3 or 4 come at a time just to play with us. So it's not something that's unheard of. We're open to the idea.
Yeah, but just like for the sake of like the ones that join us that are actually gonna join the game, it's probably good to like agree on it in beforehand. At least if you have a few more guys joining up, and then we just can because we have some issues with like finding the correct mission size, for example, and ensuring that everyone gets a place in the mission that we're gonna play. So we probably need to know it beforehand.
Yeah, what Dione is saying is true. You need just contact an admin beforehand, or just even we play every week. We play twice a week. If you guys wanna like send a group of people over, just get in touch with us. Let us know approximately how many guys you're gonna drop on us, and then we'd be happy to accommodate you.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. There's no restriction in terms of people who are joining us. And we'll be glad to accept anyone who is bringing people into our community. We want to expand our community to more players, and so on, because we've been losing some people during the summer and during the summer break. And it would be nice to get above 100 players during the weekend games again, like we had before. It would be really nice.
All right. Well, thank you very much for this conversation. Thank you very much for the mission today. It's getting pretty late, so I think people probably are wanting to conclude here for a while now. But I think this was a very constructive conversation. I mean, it's kind of rare that people talk about training. It's kind of like the gorilla in the room, at least for the American forces, I think, American civilians. But anyway. Yeah, I feel like I learned from this, and I'm hoping to make friends with some of the admins so that I can get involved in some of these weekend events and bring some of my friends as well who have gone through at least some basic training. I don't know who I should friend here on Steam.
Just contact. Let's say
just friend us.
If you wanna do training related stuff, then the people you would want to get in touch with is anybody with the Q little well, not the Q, the little dude with the the little black dude with the
the tech
stick
support
thing.
guy.
Yeah, the tech support dude. Like get in touch with those guys. We'll add you over Steam and things like that. But in regards to organizing any sort of gameplay, just go through the people that you went through previously, just like Blah and those guys.
Ask this guy to the friendly send. If you want to play us, ask him.
Yeah, but remember that most of the experience comes from actually playing. So you gotta be inside the game to understand how the mechanics work and dynamics and so on. So it's not about the training itself; it's about the experience of being in the battle. Okay.
Yeah, I think you probably restrict a lot of players from trying different roles because you need.
En mä tiedä mitä pitää noi Oselot ihan kännissä.
Anyway, thank you for the games. I'm hopping off for tonight. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, amazing performance on your side. I'm glad that you guys joined. I'm really glad. I had a fun time, and I hope you guys did as well.
Thanks
Great
again,
games.
and have
Absolutely.
Good rest day, and hope to play again.
Yeah, it was truly a blast. Although I shot none, yet it was still a blast all the way. But
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Yep, good night.
Good night.
Hei, streamille kiitos kaikki, jotka on vielä jakso kuunnella tätä